Good evening. On behalf of the West Milwaukee et al. School District, I would like to call this meeting to order. Would you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Mr. Jecky, would you please lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Suzette, would you please call the roll?
I will. Ms. Curran?
Here.
Mr. Ustrug is excused. Mr. Bailey is excused. Mr. Keller?
Here.
Mrs. Sujecki?
Here.
Mrs. Jestem? Here. Ms. Emmons is on her way. Mr. Lee?
Here.
And President Sikic.
Present. Proper notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the open meeting laws of the state of Wisconsin. Take care of that right now. Dr. Lexman, board members, any modifications to this evening's agenda?
No changes that I'd like to request. I do want to point out that we added 7.5, which is a standing item on every board meeting agenda. It was just missed as an oversight, and we did add that today, so I just want to be clear with the public in the
Under
process.
you?
Correct. It's
Okay.
the superintendent's typical updates. It was just missed.
Okay. Board members? Seeing none, pardon me, we'll move on to public comments. Just a reminder, when you give your public comments, please state your name and address for the record, and try to limit your questions or comment statements to 3 minutes. Our first one is John Molling. Molling,
Mulling like a
Mulling.
mulling it over.
thank you.
I guess you guys are getting tired of seeing me, but my last little spiel. Mike says that Marty's going to address this question, but the question I had that hasn't been answered is why when I first asked the assessors in West Dallas and New Berlin what a very large increase for a school portion of those taxes would be, with a fill-in-the-blank question, they both answered 3%. Well, I found out that you paid 12.4%, and Jeff, I talked to you on the phone. Unfortunately, I live in the New Berlin portion of the area that goes to the school board, and I paid 18.4%. And when I talked to Sue on the phone, the very first 2 words out of her mouth were, "That's impossible." Well, I found out it's possible, and it's exactly. I had to pay $458 extra on a fixed income. That was my Merry Christmas present from you guys. Thanks very much. It didn't come with a bow, would have been nice. And Jeff told me on the phone, he said, you know, I'm not too happy with my raise of 12.4 either, but Jeff, you're on the board here. If you guys can't do something about it, who's going to do something about it? Me? I don't see anybody in this room other than, nobody comes. They just pay their bill and go home. Well, I'm not like that. Never have, never will be. And I want to remind you of something. Marty Kaiser, who was the assistant director of the Milwaukee Journal, he's now retired. I talked to him many times about different articles and stuff like that. And I said, well, you know, Marty, you're probably not listening to me very closely. And he said, John, I'm listening to you extremely closely, because when I went to Marquette Journalism School, they taught us, if I get one phone call, there's 999 people that are thinking exactly like you are, but didn't make the phone call. So I'm worth 1,000 people standing around this podium tonight, according to Marty Kaiser. And I think you should take note of that. You get 100 phone calls, you got a lot of ticked off people. And the people in my neighborhood are really, really upset. I've talked to them. Over $500 extra. School's a business, whether you like to admit it or not. It's a business. The citizens of this community are buying a product. You don't just come back to us taxpayers like we're a piggy bank. If you were a business, you know what? You'd be in Chapter 11. Because you couldn't just, well, give me another $50,000, M&I, or whoever. We're not a piggy bank. And I think you need to know that. And after I read the last minutes of the other meeting, only a business that's making all those decisions, you're giving out a 1.2% salary increase next year for the people that come back. People haven't gotten raises for 5 years in certain businesses. What are you giving out a 1.2% increase for? You haven't got the money. Or you do because you took it out of my pocket. You have no business giving him a raise. I'm sorry. The rest of the things that I'm planning on doing, well, first of all, I could ask you guys to just resign, which that isn't going to happen. Or we could try to recall you guys. That's not going to happen. But what I think I can still do is when the next 3 people come up for election in April, and I know it's Pat, Sue, and Stephanie, I'm going to do everything I can to see if we can't get some new blood on this board. And maybe some business people that, you know, maybe will be able to give me money back. New Berlin had a minus 1.2%, okay? So what I'm going to do, starting probably a month before the election, I'm going to be calling newspapers, every TV station, the radio stations, community newspapers, make my own yard signs, one in my car, and drive all around the place. But that's what I'm going to do. But the most important thing I'm going to do, and I was told it's impossible, but the last thing you tell me is something's impossible because that just makes my ears prick up even more. I'm going to try to pursue from the correct people, I already have people asking, who could make the decision to have, there's no point in us being in this school district anymore when we're living in New Berlin. I live less than a mile from Eisenhower. That's where I should belong. And I'm going to do everything in my power to get the person to change it. If there's a law, I'll go to Madison and do it. We're going to get New Berlin in the New Berlin School District and not be part of this school district anymore. And I hope, Marty, you do answer that question that Mike said you will be addressing later. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mulling. That was the only individual that was signed up to speak. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to address the board at this time? Seeing none, we'll move on to the number 7, the superintendent's report.
Great. Excuse me. I am, like so many other people, trying to get better, so my voice will be a little bit in and out this evening, but I'll do my best. So we're going to start with 7.1. We have our report from the West Isle Central High School student representative. So if you introduce yourself to the board and the public again, and then share your update with us from Central.
Hi everyone, I'm Alicia Delver and I'm a senior at West Isle Central.
I'm Jose Lopez and I'm also a senior at West Isle Central.
And we're going to be telling you about some stuff that's been going on at Central through the past few months. So throughout December, homerooms have been collaborating, creating, and preparing their doors for what was one of the biggest competitions of our school year. Teachers and students alike brought in wrapping paper, boxes, glitter, Christmas trees, and other craft supplies to make their doors holiday-worthy. The winter door decorating competition was fierce this year, with many homerooms going above and beyond to decorate their doors. The second annual event, organized by our PBIS Bulldog Leadership Program, brought holiday cheer and excitement to the hallways at West Isle Central. It was fun to watch the hallways transform into a winter wonderland.
And a special thanks to Mayor Dan Devine, school board member Noah Lee, Gwen Scoyen, Diane Lazarides, Dan Stanley, and Corey Slack for being our superstar judges. There were over 50 doors that were critiqued, making the judging a very difficult process. Congratulations to Mr. Escobar's homeroom for their big win. The door was decorated in a Latino-themed gingerbread house. Students in the homeroom also brought in tamales for the judges and showed off their salsa dancing skills.
In Ms. Harmeyer's English class, her students wrote letters and made a list of items for a care package to a soldier abroad. The classes went shopping for their care packages and headed to the post office to send their first package, including their very own Bulldog tea to their soldier. The student was also very excited to hear back from him. A special thanks to Ms. McCann and Central Perk that donated money towards the care package purchases.
4 of our Bulldog freshmen in video game design had the opportunity to experience all of MSOE had to offer in an overnight lock-in. They attended courses at MSOE that included both computer science and artificial intelligence. The students had a blast. A shout out to Ms. Boyle-White, who is working hard to connect her students to colleges and preparing them for their future career paths. She even attended this event and enjoyed the overnight experience with the students.
Ms. Turnicliffe's English 10 class conducted a massive book drive in December that collected more than 400 books. The students in their classes then delivered the collected books to Franklin Elementary this week. Victor E. Bulldog and the Central students also stayed to read with the Franklin students.
The first Thursday of every month is College, Military, and Trades Day at Central. This month's focus was on Concordia University, the Marine Corps, Gateway Technology College, and the electrician's trade. A presentation with more detailed information on each was reviewed and kept. Thanks, Mr. Dolnick, for creating these presentations and to the staff for helping spread awareness to our students. This past Thursday, 11 former Central Avid students who were in the area and on winter break came back to be a part of a college panel in the Avid 10, 11, and 12 classes. The current Avid students prepared and asked various questions about college and what they would have done different if they knew what they knew now. Thanks to Ms. Wright for organizing.
Over the course of December, Avid opened up its application and interview process to any interested ninth graders. We had 55 applications this year compared to 33 last year and 25 2 years ago. This was not an easy process, as anyone on the team who can attest to. 33 students who are choosing to be a part of the Central Avid's class of 2022.
Over the weekend, 4 students from Rock Decker Club competed at Kettle Moraine High School. Abigail Spitzer, Jose Lopez, Fernando Castro, and Alexia Rodriguez did an amazing job. DECA is a group that prepares students to be leaders in business and focusing on specific clusters such as travel and tourism, sports and entertainment marketing, retail merchandising, and many more. Our next competition will be the state competition, and all 4 of the members who competed will be attending.
And now we're going to give you an athletic update about Central. So the varsity boys basketball finished in second place in the A.B. Nicholas Holiday Hoops Classic, losing to Dominican by 2 points. The JV boys won the championship at the tournament, and the freshmen finished second as well. A highlight for all those that attended the Holiday Hoops Classic was on December 20th when the Milwaukee Bucks powered forward Giannis, the Greek feat from the Bucks. I can't pronounce his name.
Giannis is good, that's good.
Attended the tournament to watch his brother play for the Dominican. It was great because he signed autographs and took pictures with the fans. Central's varsity basketball team currently had a record of 6-5, and now Greendale on Friday.
West Dallas Central finished in 5th place at the Bayer Brawl on January 6th at Nathan Hill High School. Quentin Brown, Dustin Dieberts, Tim Seymour all finished in 1st place at the invite. Peter Garcia took 3rd, and Josh Sormode, Ricky Telsky, and Jalen Rivera all finished in 5th place. Joetti Casa also took 1st place at the tournament and went 3-0 at the Bayer Brawl Girls Tournament.
Junior Caleb Emmert McCohen took 1st place at the Greenfield Dual and Cedar Brick invite. Caleb scored 413 points, which is his personal best for an 11-dive meet at Cedar Brick.
The Central Boys and Girls Basketball programs invite all students from grade 2 through 8 to attend our Junior Bulldogs Saturday program. These Saturday events are held at the E.H. Stetch Fieldhouse from 8:30 to 10:30. Join Coach Milojnik, Coach Hansen, their staffs, and current Bulldog players for their fun mental mornings. The goal of these Saturdays is to make our Junior Bulldogs feel part of our Bulldog basketball family. There are only 3 Saturdays left to attend our Junior Bulldogs, and they can attend through January 20th through February 2nd and February 17th.
And the Central Varsity Bowling Team has won their last 3 matches, defeating Brookfield East, Heartland Arrowhead, and the formerly undefeated Greendale team. Central is currently in 2nd place in the South Division, trailing Greendale by 2 points.
And we're going to talk about some upcoming events. Central's Art Fair is taking place this Wednesday, January 10th in the IMC from 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. Come see the artistic talent and creativity of our Bulldogs.
And it's January, which means exams are starting up in this coming weeks. Students are already studying for the exams so that they can close out their semester on a high note.
Central will hold its first annual Bulldog Nation Expo on January 18th. Over 200 8th graders from West Milwaukee and Frank Lloyd Wright will be coming to our school to learn more about our athletic programs, academics, and clubs. All of you are invited to attend this event on the 18th that is taking place noon till 2:15 p.m.
Finally, on January 23rd, Central will be having its annual Test Fest. All 9th, 10th, and 11th grade students at Central will be taking the practice ACT test. Seniors will have the opportunity to take either the ASVAB, UW Placement, AccuPlacer, or the practice ACT. At the end of the test, students will have the chance to review their answers with the proctor of their test.
And that's it.
Questions or comments by board members? I have one. Oh, go ahead, Noah.
I'm sorry. I just want to comment. I had a great time judging the door contest. I will say I was pleasantly surprised at how much you guys go out for that. I mean, not just the door in a lot of instances, half the wall on either side of the door, ceiling, floor. Like I said, they had food. It was quite the experience, I will say. So anyone who judges in the future, don't eat before you come. And wear something that breathes, because it is a whirlwind. There's 50 doors, and you have X amount of time to do it in, so it's very quick. So, but you guys did a great job. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you for coming. We enjoyed it.
I just have a quick question. If I may ask you, the WAC, PAC, I get the WAC. That's pretty easy.
It's actually, it's our WAC Pack group at our school, which is basically we all the upperclassmen, we help with the freshmen, and we basically are mentors with them, and we do activities with them, and kind of like be a friend to them and everything
Oh,
like
cool.
that too.
Does the PAC stand for something?
Yeah, it stands for Peer Advisory Committee.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Because in my world, it stands for Political Action Committee. And I figured that wasn't it, that's it. Any other comments or questions?
I don't have any, but I just do want to compliment you. Your reports are really, really good, thorough, nicely done, and can hear them beautifully. Nice job.
Very, very nice job.
Thank you.
Thank you. And as always, you are free to go.
Great, thank you both. We'll go on to 7.2, our school showcase this evening is Franklin Elementary School. So let's welcome the team from Franklin.
Good evening, everyone. All right, so thanks for having us here today. We're really pleased to share a presentation from our school building leadership team. The group here is a group of very dedicated professionals that represent our entire Franklin school community and the care that we show each day to every child and parent who walks through our door. Our presentation today is going to focus on our school goal of embrace, engage, and empower. And if you looked at the back of our t-shirts, that says that too. So as you listen tonight to the work that we're doing each day, you will see the strategic alignment to this mission. Our work during the 2017-2018 school year is part 2 of a 3-year plan. It started during the 2015 school year, kind of at the end of the school year, when we identified some challenges that we had. Then in June 2016, Franklin team actually traveled to San Antonio, Texas to participate in a 3-day professional development from Eric Jensen. During that development, we really started to understand the child's brain, the role of stress in learning and behavior, and developing that cognitive capacity that our kids need in order to build memory. And really the power of active student engagement. After a year of study during this past school year, we met again in spring 2017 in some various teams. We reflected on the growth we met, the current needs that exist, and what our next steps were. That drove us and our teachers to participate in some district trainings, some system revisions, and that created the roadmap that you're going to hear next. 3 things emerged from that, and in order to really improve our student achievement, we needed to do these 3 things. First of all, we needed to embrace each child so each child felt safe and were engaged. And we're going to show you how we teach some very strategic social skills and use some pretty creative instructional programming. Second, we really needed to empower the staff in some leadership positions so they're able to use their instructional expertise. And third, we needed to embrace, engage, and empower our parents, really bringing them in to have an active role. So please listen throughout the presentation as to our vision of embrace, engage, and empower.
Hi, I'm Jamie Crowder. I'm the school counselor over at Franklin. So one of the things I want to talk to you about tonight is how I have embraced students and families over at Franklin through the use of a program called Life Striders. It's a therapeutic writing center out in Waukesha County. And I have partnered with them and brought them over to Franklin School. They have come into our school once a week and worked with 6 of our students, and these have been pretty high-need students with a variety of needs, but they are working on things like conflict resolution, nonverbal skills, team building, and building those healthy relationships that these students really lacked. So they come into the school once a week, work with this group of students and myself in a variety of really great team building, therapy type exercises for an hour. And then the really cool part is once a month, I take this group of students in a van out to the barn, and we ride horses and practice these same therapeutic activities and exercises on the horses. So it's been really great for the kids. I've really hooked them. I've had some really great success with this group of kids, and I've also kind of engaged the parents as well. I've had a grandma come out to the barn all the way out to Waukesha County, and I last Friday had a grandpa join me in the van and come out with me as well. So, and it's a grandfather that I've never seen at any other Franklin events, so I was pretty excited about that. So I have a little video here to show you, which is, you'll see us doing some activities at school and then also in the barn.
Striders program here at Franklin. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
It's like where you build up your self-esteem and you try working with a group and you build a partnership.
Anything to add, Jeremiah?
When we're on the horses, we do exercises to make our muscles feel better when we're riding the horses.
Okay.
Towards the outside of the arena, right hand back, looking over the wall. Good job, you guys. All right, I'm gonna have leaders reverse direction.
The trainers from the barn come to the school, and what do you do with them?
We play lots of different games, to build up a partnership more, and to trust them. So, if we were in a situation where we need our friends for a partnership, we would trust the people that we always work with.
Awesome.
Another thing that we are doing this year is trying to do some more engaging things. I am the technology integrator at Franklin, and this year I have kind of revamped our library and made a good makerspace. So our makerspace has a bunch of different craft-like things along with technology like Lego robotics and Spheros and all sorts of different stuff for the kids to do. So they often create and build and come up with their own projects and find new passions and really work together to just explore and play and find what they're really good at. Some things that I've done this year with teachers is we've co-taught different lessons, whereas they learned about plants and pollinators, and then we made a plant pollinator Lego robot. We've also used we created a frog habitat because they were learning about habitats, and then we built a Lego frog, and it kind of hopped around in their habitat. So just kind of adding another engagement piece into the classroom. And I have a video to share as well.
Make it go. Romeo and Abby, what are you working on? What are you making?
Oh,
was a cucumber piano. So lots of fun things. I'm going to do a little swap.
Hi everybody, I'm Corey Schaefer and I am a teacher piloting the Lucy Calkins Unit of Study in Reading here at Franklin. This is implemented in most of our K-2 classrooms and we refer to this as Smile Time. Smile Time allows for authentic reading to take place. Our students are empowered to be both readers and thinkers in our classroom. Part of Smile Time is independent reading, and this is where our students are reading books at their just right level. We call this their independent reading level. And this helps our students to really be engaged in the reading process and to really hone in and practice the strategic skills that have been taught to them through our mini lesson and conferring. Another part of Smile Time is partner reading, and this is where our students are reading together and learning with each other and from each other and learning how to have meaningful dialogue and conversations about their books and about their learning and about their ideas. We have seen success in our students' reading proficiency through the use of the Lucy Calkins reading model, and the video you are about to see shows Smile Time through the students' perspectives.
First you take a sneak peek, then you read it, then you do something at the end, like read your favorite page, retell, or reread the book. During Smile Time, I work on reading really good like teachers. These are my goals. I have a goal for myself, and I have a goal for me and my teacher in reading. My goal is to do a 5-finger retell and to be a good word detective. During Smile Time, I like to read books because they make me smarter. I read more and more and more to become a better reader.
Good evening. I'm Demetrius Foster, District Dean at Franklin Elementary, and I'm happy to be here tonight to talk about PBIS and school culture here. So what we have implemented this year are monthly themes that we do with our students school-wide, and each monthly theme focuses on a different skill, a people skill, soft skill, so to speak. And it helps our students become better classmates, better people in general. And it's driven by our behavior data. What we do basically is meet on a regular basis, go through the data, we see what the data tells us in terms of what types of behaviors are there that can be worked on and honed in or improved, and we base our monthly social skills themes off of that. Some of the social skills that we've had we've taught is optimism, sportsmanship, gratitude, and today we just started conflict resolution. And within these months, we have weekly all-school celebrations or all-school assemblies where we really engage students with various activities. We have been successful at bringing in community resources such as the Hunger Task Force to be a part of our food drive, our school-wide food drive, as well as West Allis Central High School came in for the sportsmanship monthly theme. And what we found throughout this year are significant drops in some of our unfavorable discipline. One being our minors. We have majors in minor behavior incidents. The minors tend to lead to major behaviors, but what you see is on a regular 78, this year compared to last year had a drop of 78 referrals, minor referrals per month at our school.
Hi, I'm Amanda Hayes. I'm a teacher at Franklin, and I'm also the PBIS Tier 1 coach. So one of the things that we're really proud of this year is using the Dojo app. It allows us to have conversations and to be in instant contact with our families, which is one of the parts of embracing our families. So we have about 200 conversations with our families per week. And that's a simple, maybe a change in pickup, or this behavior is being seen, you know, how are things at home? Another thing that we use with Dojo is that's how our students are rewarded with their positive behaviors. So our PBIS expectations are that they're responsible, respectful, and ready to learn. So when we see those types of behaviors, they're rewarded by their Dojo points. So their parents can also see how many points they are earning each day. And another part of Dojo that we've really loved is that our students are able to share out how we're doing with our Dojo points, because us as a school, we set goals to earn all school incentives. So our students then create little videos with our tech integrator to share with our students at the all school meetings. So this little video is one of the announcements that they have created.
Reporting from you live at Franklin Elementary School. It's Rodney and Emily reporting at you with our Dojo updates. We have, drum roll please, 103,072 Dojo points. Congratulations, Franklin Elementary School. We earned our pajama movie day. Congratulations, Franklin Elementary School. Wait. Congratulations! We earned our movie. We currently
No.
have movie day. Woo!
Oh, God.
Hi, I'm Sarah Gutzler. I'm a teacher at Franklin, and I'm going to be talking to you about staff councils and empowering staff councils. A new structure was implemented this year. Teachers are empowered by leading councils, and we have 4 councils. First, we have the Enrichment Council, and the purpose is to increase engagement for our students in order to decrease the negative behaviors and increase our academics. Second council is the Literacy Council, and the purpose of this is to increase the amount of text read in school this year. Our third council is the School Culture Council. The purpose is to improve the culture of our school climate through techniques such as mindfulness. Finally is the Math Council, and the purpose of that is to increase our academic success with a focus on problem solving, the MyMath curriculum, and our new district common assessments. Through these councils, we collaborate with the whole staff, feeling empowered as teacher leaders. Then we plan school-wide events as well for our parents. So we embrace, we engage, and we empower our parents through these events. The events that we have had so far include the back-to-school picnic, where we set the stage for our PBIS initiatives. Second, we had our harvest dance. And at our harvest dance, the students dressed up in costumes and played games. Our goal was to build some community. Upcoming events include the Literacy Night, and our goal was to explain online platforms and while the students are in the gym engaging in literacy activities. And finally, we have an upcoming math night where it's like an escape the room, and then we're going to be learning new math platforms and immersing students in their grade level initiatives. So through our councils and parent nights, we have come together as teachers and parents to embrace, engage, and empower all of our students.
So, from our life striders to our innovative instructional practices and our really specific social skills instruction through the Eric Jensen work that we did, we're really working to engage our students, engage our parents, and engage our teachers, because each part of that community supports each other for one purpose and one purpose only, our kids of West Allis, West Milwaukee. There are many challenges, as many of our students and families come with some pretty extensive needs. But with the power of our very dedicated staff and our growth mindset, our optimism, our gratitude, and our teamwork, without a doubt, we can put and accomplish any challenge that's put forward to us. That's Franklin.
Questions or comments by board members? Stephanie?
Yeah. The Life Striders program is very innovative. Is there a specific type of student that you're looking for to get engaged in that's kind of success? And then secondarily, did you have any pushback from any of the parents? Like, I don't want my kid on a horse. or leaving the building, or, any of those things. Those could all be potential challenges.
Yeah, those are great questions. I had zero pushback from parents.
Good.
Parents were super excited to have their kid be chosen and to be part of this opportunity. I had built some relationships already with these students, so I think the parents had some trust in me and were confident in me taking their child, out of school and all the way into Waukesha County.
Yeah.
The students we were kind of looking for.
I'm sorry, we gotta go into the microphone.
Do I have to say all that over?
Yes, please start from the beginning.
Are you serious?
No.
Okay.
The students we were looking for were students that really struggled behaviorally, with social skills in particular, with getting along with peers.
That needed to build their self-confidence, their self-esteem, and really needed to be part of something. And I think that's the power of it, because what do they call themselves?
They actually, actually it was interesting, the first week or two, they really could not get along as a group. It was like they were doing these activities and they just couldn't gel, and they were trying to figure out how to communicate, and by like week 3, week 4, they had termed themselves the Life Striders Brave Knights, and they would put their hands in when they were done and do like the Life Striders Brave Knights and be really proud of themselves. So they really came together as a group. It was really cool to see, but there was a lot of growth that happened.
And if you look at the data from the Life Striders group of students, one little boy, I was actually talking to him today. Last year, at this time of the year, he probably had 35 office referrals or more. He is at 1 office referral that happened back in September. He also did have a bigger incident in very, very early September, but since that period of time, he has nothing. So it has made a significant difference.
Yeah, they're really proud to be part of the group.
Sue?
I have a comment on exactly this. I thought I'd fall off my chair when I read that you were taking kids on horses. I thought it was a misprint. And so when I saw the kids on a horse, that's really something. But when you're looking at the videos and what have you, I think the real special thing is that the kids are really engaged. And you can see that they're engaged. And, I'll have to come and visit, because that IMC just looks like it's too much fun to miss.
Please
But
do.
I did have to comment about the horse.
Yeah, please do. I can let you know all the dates, because the second semester will be starting. I would love to have each and every one of you come out and see on a Friday that we ride. But it's interesting to see, because this was a very wiggly group, extremely wiggly group, and they would just be so wiggly, getting like the helmets on and the directions, and you get them on the horse and the power of an animal. Their bodies were so calm and so still and so attentive and so ready to just engage and learn and be present, and it's really powerful.
How many students do you serve in this group?
6.
And waiting
6
list?
boys. Yes. Yes, I have lots of students that, now they've kind of gotten wind of it and have heard about it and have said, well, when am I going to get to go ride horses, or when can I be part of it? So Leslie and I are working on the second semester group now.
Well, it's nice to see you have the success you've had. It's interesting, you try to attack different skill levels, ability levels, and that's what it needs, because children are so different, each and every one of them. And the way you've captivated them by the different options you're offering, it's a really nice report and a good way to get your school off to a good start this year.
Thank you.
Nora, did you have your hand up?
I did, and then Pat stole my question. So, I just want to comment, I like the inclusion of animals. There's been a lot of work showing how animals can help kids, especially kids that are coming from different backgrounds that may be challenging. There was a recent article in the school board publication that we all get that talks about dogs, but similar theme. I think that is a good way to think outside the box to try and help and refocus. Kids might be in some difficult situations. I can definitely see, I get to go ride horses, that it can definitely draw a lot more people in. And so is there like a plan to, for lack of a better term, graduate the kids out of the program so that you can bring new kids in? Or, you know, what, is there any sort of process in place for that yet?
So this first group, they participated for 16 weeks, so they've essentially graduated from the program. We've seen great success with them. And so now, starting this second semester now in February, we'll start another group. And so LifeStriders is really excited to be partnering with us. They have, I mean, they're so excited to be working with our school and would love to get into other schools in West Dallas as well, actually. And they said they would like to do 2 groups for us. So we're going to be working on two groups of students going out.
Would those groups be limited to 6 per group, or is there a number?
I think we're going to do 4 or 5 per group. 6 was a lot, but I think we're going to divide it up a little bit so they get more. They love the barn time, and so we're going to try to give them more time at the barn so that they have time to do some grooming and barn chores, because that goes with horses as well, and then riding time as well, because there's a lot of skill building and teamwork that can go with grooming and taking care of the animals as well. So we're going to kind of do that while one group is riding and then flip.
Great. And I think it'd be interesting to try to expand it to other schools as well.
I was just going to ask about your makerspace. How does that work? Does each classroom get time in there? Is it a free time thing? How is it utilized?
So I use it with every class period during technology time, and then outside of that, teachers can sign up to use the space to kind of co-teach in there with me, or if they're working on, I talked about the habitats. That was a co-taught lesson that a teacher said, hey, I'm working on this, like what can we do together? Okay. So it's kind of, everyone gets use of it at least once every other week, and then they, together with their teachers, can use a little more. So whenever they want, they can sign up and get in there.
Is there thoughts to grow that area? Is there space to grow that area, I should say? I know.
The way she cleans and organizes, I'm sure we'll figure out a way.
I'm definitely interested in continuing to add different technology into there and just seeing what else we can make of that. So, yeah.
Brent?
I just wanted to comment on the amount of communication through Classroom Dojo. I have a student at Franklin, and we get regular updates. We feel like we know everything that's kind of going on in that classroom, and I think that's been great in terms of really kind of understanding what's going on in that environment and being able to share that with our kid. So I think that's been awesome.
Anyone else?
So I'd like to jump in and thank the whole team. I really appreciate the new work in teacher leadership in the councils. I think that's really powerful. When we see that kind of work where the decision makers that are closest to the work with the kids are engaged in the decisions that impact their work, that's where we get improvement. So thank you for doing that.
Thank you for attending tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all. Wait, one more question. When is the talent show? Because I can't wait to see it.
Jordan,
Come on, Jordan.
It is March 22nd.
We gotta get
On to our next.
You guys started your dance, or are you singing this year?
Surprise.
Oh.
Awesome, thank you, everybody. So we'll go on to the legislative update. We've done some, I'm not going to read the entire update. What we've done is for each of the bills that starts to move forward, education-related bills that starts to move forward, the Legislative Reference Bureau adds some text into the bill that I find probably a little plainer language that explains, okay, this is what this bill was trying to do, here's what, the law was before. So we're going to include that just for the board and for the public, so you get a little more of a kind of background for each of the various bills that's moving forward. So a couple things here. We're watching some guidance. This has started with the Strang Patterson Law Firm around what may start to be considered public records. Up until this decision, personal notes were not considered public record, and there seems to be a decision now where some of them can be considered that. And so we're going to be working with our law firm to really understand this more in terms of record retention and maintenance and those kind of things, and then educating staff, and if there's implications for the board, we'll share that as well. There's also some public hearings coming up on changes to the DPI rules around teacher licensing or educator licensing, teacher administrators. That's called PI 34, so there's some public hearings, so all of the dates are noted there. And then the bills that are coming forward for hearings, so we've got Senate Bill 159, that's related to a board having to modify its instruction about nutrition to include knowledge of nutritive value of foods and the role of a nutritious diet. It would also modify the requirements for a board to award a high school diploma. There's not a lot of support for this because it adds another mandate, and I think a lot of school districts feel that we're already doing this work well, but it could potentially change some of what we do with our health courses at the high school level to make sure we're complying, if it gets passed, with the new graduation requirement. SB 222, that's pupil exam information, so that the board and the district would have to annually provide to the parent and guardians of all of the students a copy or instructions how to access a summary of the pupil examinations, of all of the examinations that the board or the state or federal law are administering. And so the SAA is neutral on it, so the School Administrators Alliance, I think it presents some burdensome requirements. We already have all of this information available in terms of state and federal required exams, but if it gets to the level of kind of local classroom exams, that's where I think the burden starts to come in. SB 234 is additional information around the opt-out opportunity for parents and families to remove their students from state and federal required tests, except for the civics test. Right? So the civics test is not included in that. And this change is really that right now, we must excuse a parent that requests this within the timeline in grades 4, 8, 9, 10, and 11, and this would be, the change is really from grades 3 through 12. This is what the real change in that legislation would introduce. SB 427, this is SAA, and every superintendent I've talked to is definitely in opposition to this. School construction notification, it would require notification of any project estimated at a cost of $10,000 or greater. And again, it's, I think, a burdensome requirement. In a district this size, there are many construction projects every year that would go well beyond the $10,000, and we'd spend quite a bit more staff time trying to meet this requirement. SB 483, this one we're very much support of, even though SAA took no position. What it does is it expands the category of eligible grade levels to receive Robotics League grants. And currently it's in grades 9 through 12, and this would add grades 6, 7, and 8. So, we're seeing more and more, even today, elementary schools. SB 494, this is relating to the publication of school and school district accountability reports, and this is really changing the timeline. And so that all of it would line up to November 30 rather than some of it in September, some of it in November. So the Department of Public Instruction has a requirement, a federal requirement of when they have to notify, and they're trying to adjust these timelines a bit. Senate Bill 536, Pupil Assessment Access. This bill requires the Department of Public Instruction to make available upon request practice examinations or sample items related to knowledge and concept exams required to be administered under state law. And so that one gets interesting. That's so that would require the department to share practice exams, and I think that one does make sense, that it would be helpful for us to have access to that kind of material. And then finally, Senate Bill 556, student absence evaluation. So this one would create a requirement for a student that is now starting to be referred because of excused or unexcused absences of 10 days or more. So this is now getting into where we're identifying students as truant, whether or not they should be automatically referred for evaluation as to whether the child is a child with a disability. So that one gets interesting in terms of again, what would be the impact on it. There's also a public hearing on January 11th. This is Assembly Bill 693. This is the Teacher Protection Act. This one we've talked about before. Essentially is probably going nowhere because it has no Senate sponsorship. But we're still watching that one. At the federal level, there's nothing new since our last meeting. And then moving on to 7.5, updates and information items. So there's not a lot to report on since our last meeting on December 18th, just because we had the break, and it's only been a few days of school since we've been back. But what I did want to share, and this is also in response to the public comment we had this evening, but we, the following meeting we respond. So on December 18th of 2017, we had one public comment regarding the tax increase, the property tax increase for the school district. And I want to share, I'm going to read this one, and usually I don't do that, but just so it's in the record, and anybody that's listening in the school district hears all of the same information. So first of all, we're always thankful when citizens come forward. When citizens come forward to share concerns, it's part of the process. These are public processes, and that's how it should be. When people don't like something that's happened, they should come forward and share that information with us. And even though we know if there's, a person that's raising a concern, there's many, many more people that share that concern. Although with the property tax increase, and we discussed it when these options were before the board and how this would be received, we've probably gotten 10 calls overall. So it's not a groundswell, but we know there's many more people than that. But so to understand how this happened, it's important first to recognize that we have verified that the school portion of the taxes of John Mulling's taxes did go up 18.4%. And we did spend, Mike Weaver, I got to thank him for really spending the time. And for Mr. Mulling for sharing his tax bills so that we actually had all of the information and ran all the numbers, and yes, that's exactly the impact. So here's how it happens. So first of all, it's important to communicate that the mill rate that we set, right, the mill rate for the West Allis West Milwaukee School District is every school district in the state is calculated on an equalized property value. Right, so equalized property value, so that equalizes, so when we calculate it, it makes all of the property kind of be apples to apples, right? But when municipalities calculate the actual property tax bill, it's based on assessed property value, right? So the aggregate rate of all property assessed is not the same for each individual piece of property, right? So therefore, the mill rate approved by the board in October of $10.99 was $11.74 for those that live in New Berlin. Right, so that's what shifts when you go from equalized to assessed. So there may be people for whom in the school district it actually was less than $10.99. Right, is the way this starts to play out. So we want to remind our citizens again that in Wisconsin, the state aid funding formula for schools is impacted by a district's income. If income goes up and exceeds expenses, then the state aid goes down due to a perceived lack of need. In 2017, income to the West Allis West Milwaukee School District exceeded expenses, and state aid was reduced by $5.8 million. However, student enrollment remained the same, and property taxes increased to replace the decreased state aid. And so what's important there is that doesn't mean we have more money, right? So because property taxes go up, I think it's a misunderstanding in the community that the district now suddenly has more money. And that's not the fact. And in fact, we're operating on a budget with $2 million less than we had planned because of what the board decided to do. And I'll get into that next. So rather than tax at the $11.46 per $100,000 of equalized value, which was permitted under the formula, so that would be the maximum the board could have raised the property tax levy or mill rate, the school board voted to reduce the projected rate by using $2 million of income from the previous year's revenue for this year. In the end, the school board worked to strike a balance between supporting the district's return to fiscal stability and property tax relief. And I know that, this has made many people unhappy, and, even Jeff, you talked about your tax bill with me. But I think the board did take a balanced approach here, right? Because we've cut millions of dollars, and there's a point at which we really start to impact and harm children. And so I think the board wisely took a balanced approach, didn't tax to the maximum, but we do understand that the impact for some property taxpayers is a bit extraordinary. But that lowered the tax rate to the $10.99 per $100 equalized value, but that still meant a $1.22 increase over the $9.70 per $1,000 of equalized value last year. Right? So it was $1.22 per $1,000 of equalized value. So it's important to note that the school district operates within the revenue limits that have been imposed by the state, like every school district, since 1993. Now, so for some in the community, anything that increases taxes for schools or for government is automatically rejected, and I respect that. But hoping to be recognized as being sensitive to taxpayers and dedicated to ensuring that schools and children are supported, the district could have levied to the full extent, but did not, as recommended by the board. So we're aware that Waukesha used its OPEB money, so this was part of it, right? So we got the OPEB settlement in. So Waukesha used the OPEB settlement money to pay off debt, and Whitefish Bay put it in a separate account to be used for later retirement benefits. Their state aid was not affected because of those decisions. Well, options regarding the settlement money were discussed here. It's got to be understood that the fund balance position for West Allis, West Milwaukee is much different than of the other districts, right? So it was determined that it was in our best interest to use the OPEB settlement money to restore the fund balance to avoid the costs of short-term cash flow borrowing, right? So that we really elected to rebuild as quickly as possible our fund balance, and this is why. We've been working hard to address the fund balance. It was reduced by $5,200,000+ in 13-14, and further depleted by nearly $9 million in 14-15. The district has made numerous budget cuts, organizational changes to improve its financial stability, ensure quality educational programs for its students, right? So we ended up with a $2.1 million negative fund balance. Now that has moved to a positive fund reserve of $9.9 million at the end of last year. And that's pretty remarkable work in a fairly short period of time. So that helps us eliminate the $1 million in interest payments for borrowing, ultimately enabling us to provide more funding for students in classrooms. The other way I've started to think about this is what we were forced to do given our position. So we have negative reserves, our credit rating crashed. We've had the meeting where Andy and I talked about having to meet with investors, and the only ones we could find were in Minneapolis, and they flew in, and we had a long conversation with them and had to convince them that we were a worthwhile, risky investment in terms of meeting our short-term borrowing needs. So essentially what we did is we took out a great big credit card in that kind of desperate moment we were in. That credit card cost us $1 million a year just in interest payments, right? But we needed it to make sure we could keep operations going. And so rebuilding our reserves means we can now start to move towards paying off the credit card entirely and having reduced the interest rates dramatically, right? So it's another way to think about what we've been working through. But as we move forward, we've been transparent all the way through this process as much as we can possibly figure out how to be. All of our financial information is always posted on the website. There's bi-monthly school board meetings. The committee meetings are now public, so the finance committee meeting, or business services, sorry. So we presented information on the proposed budget for 18-19 in April and June, and we have public budget meetings for the 18-19 budget in September and set the levy in October. So we're going to continue to welcome public comment. We are deeply committed to the fiscal stability of the district and to increasing student achievement as we move forward. And I wanted to share all of that just so that everybody has that same information. So thank you. I appreciate you giving me a little bit of extra time there.
Okay. We'll move on to number 8, the board president's report. I just have the calendar to go over. Following tonight's regular meeting, we have business services workshop dealing with open enrollment and the 220 seats. Following that, we will have a closed session meeting. Next Monday, January 15th at 6 o'clock, we have the Learning and Technology and Student Services Workshop, and we'll be discussing 3 subjects: project-based learning, the career-based educational opportunities, and academic and career planning. On Tuesday, January 16th, is the evening of the pre-convention workshops, if any of you had signed up for any of those. And then on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, January 17th, 18th, and 19th, is the Wisconsin Association of School Board Convention downtown at the Wisconsin Center. The sessions for that vary throughout the day, but they start at 8 in the morning and end at 5 in the evening, and there may be some of our board members attending that. On Monday, January 22nd, at 6 o'clock, we have our regular Board of Education meeting. And on Monday, February 12th, at 6 o'clock, we have our regular Board of Education meeting. I have nothing from my community groups I'm involved in. Anybody else have anything to share?
I don't, but I want to elaborate on the Monday, January 15th meeting.
Okay.
We just came out of a curriculum meeting, and so just give you a little more information from what Deidre and Adam are planning. They're going to have a pre-supper activity that you could be here for at 5 o'clock, because this is going to involve a lot of people being here that night, like you had done a couple months ago when we did the rotation of different sections. So there's going to be somewhere about 8 to 10 different sections that you'll be part of viewing, so that you can see all the different things that are going on with career and college readiness. And students are involved as well as teachers, and they're thinking about bringing building principals in as well. So if you'd like to engage with them a little bit before that time, that'll give you an hour to do that. We'll start at 6 o'clock. I would encourage them to go even longer, but I think you'll have a really delightful evening of seeing what's going on with our CTE and college and career readiness project that's happening in the schools today.
Did I hear correct that we should get here at 5?
I would suggest getting here at 5 o'clock.
So the staff and the students and some of those will all be here at 5 if you have questions to interact. We won't start until 6 at the normal time.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right, it's a pre-meet.
Thank you. Anyone else? No? Okay, we will move on to the consent agenda. And I would like to do those separate, because 9.2 I need to recuse myself from. So we would do 9.1, the approval of minutes from the December 18th regular board meeting.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That passed. We'll move on to 9.2, the employment summary, and once again, I will recuse myself from voting on this one. The employment summary and supplemental contracts.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That passes. Since last time, anybody come up with any ideas for agenda items or subjects we'd like to discuss?
Presume we're still working
And
on
again,
it.
it's always, if you think of something, you can shoot Stephanie or Marty or myself an email with that information. Okay, this ends the televised portion of our meeting this evening. We will take a 5-minute break for Brian to take down the cameras, and then we will reconvene with our workshop, and following that, our closed session. We are at recess.